I think the forum was very interesting. I liked how it started off at the first, speaking to the policymakers, understanding the regulatory environment of the Kenyan economy, and obviously in the second session as well, speaking to the companies that are pitching the companies, and just kind of seeing what the market demand is in terms of products, specifically from what these investees are saying. So I think I really liked both aspects, and of course the networking part as well. And how this compares to the UK is that it's a completely different country, right? Different politics, different region, different dynamics completely. In the UK, you kind of learn and understand sort of UK economy. Might be a little bit of sort of European economy, but I think in Kenya, you understand a lot more of, Rwanda, Uganda, Burundi, these East African countries as a collective rather than just understanding Kenya. So I think that's kind of what splits these conferences apart to what the conferences have been in the UK. The biggest challenge I've seen so far has been a customer base. I think a customer base hasn't still yet been established properly. So, for example, so a company might have, 10 different product items, 10 different revenue sources, and the customer base across, 2 of those revenue sources might have been established, but 8 of those sources still hasn't. And they haven't been able to sort of really nail down where they want to sell, or the product or the market that they want to sell. I think that's been a problem that I've seen. And obviously that is a symptom of just being an early stage company. So I think we see as the market, as the product, as the company scales, they can then sort of specialize into those 2 or 1 niche products where they can therefore exploit the revenues. But so far, I think being an early stage company, having issues in terms of scaling, you do find these sort of customer bases that are not yet certified yet. I think pitching and networking events are very important for the investing community because it really helps the investor understand the market, the economy, and the sort of dynamics of the region beyond looking on Google, beyond seeing the sort of blanket macroeconomic tariffs. I think really understanding, speaking to policymakers, speaking to potential investee companies and being able to understand what differentiate them between sort of the market. I think it really helps you understand A, the economy, B, the microeconomy, and C, the sort of products as well. And also D, the macro economy in terms of policy rates and inflation rates and stuff. So I think all of those combined for me makes it a lot more digestible, speaking to people actually upfront, being able to ask them questions about the products, about the market, about the economy. I think you can get a lot of that more than from sort of say Google, for example. I think my top takeaway from today has been the sort of push towards bringing in more FDI in Kenya. Of course, as we see, there's been sort of challenges and investors have been facing sort of uncertainties around investing in Kenya. So I think that sort of reassurance from the government agencies like the KRA, for example, that were here, that was sort of reassuring investors. I think that's probably one of the biggest takeaways because, as investors, that's the main thing we're looking in the market, like how can our investee companies benefit for, say, tax, for example, which seems to be like a huge problem. So I think being able to ease those fears, being able to allow sort of more foreign direct investment and also domestic direct investment, I think both of those are really helpful for the economy. And that was probably my biggest takeaway in terms of being able to feedback to my team and probably feedback to the investee companies as well. So something that surprised me today actually was particularly understanding how the financials of the healthcare sector works. I raised a question about sort of how or why rather, a company's or the company in question's working capital was so much in terms of the use of proceeds go into that. And I think it was very interesting to just understand and know, how much sort of, say for example, receivables dependent on hospitals and patients. I think that was one thing that definitely surprised me, especially in a Kenya context as well, because it seems to be a lot more that's tied up in working capital compared to, for example, like in the UK. So that's definitely something that surprised me today.